Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L, and now let's talk Made in Abyss Episode 2. So, a very quick, acknowledgement of the comments from the last video. Everyone who has read the manga is pretty excited and pointing out that this is gonna get relatively dark. And we can kind of see indications of that in the world itself, and we kind of see it to some degree in this episode. That's gonna be what I think I'm going to talk about the most for this episode. We do see indications that this has a dark undertone to it, but again, the visuals just make it so welcoming. It's just so engaging, just how pretty everything is. Man, I really enjoy the art direction for this thing. It's so good. But anyway, there are a lot of people who have pointed out the dark nature of this show that it might potentially take in the comments below, and I just want to let you know I have acknowledged that. I have seen those comments. Cool. I really don't want to spoil it for myself. If anything, I'm pretty excited to see how this is gonna go, because from the way people are talking about it, man, I want to see something that's gonna disturb me. Jeez, I hope it's something that's just, well, wow, I want to really come out of an episode and be like, wow, that traumatized me in so many different ways. But the point is here, I'm excited for what's going to come. I still have not read the manga. I'm not going to read the manga for this series. I kind of want to be surprised. If you guys feel the need to just continue hyping up how things might potentially turn out for the anime later, feel free to do that. But I will say this to the anime only viewers. Do be careful going into the comments, just because it's going to be there in the comments, and you don't really want to risk spoiling yourself, especially if you are a person who's particularly adverse to spoilers. We all know those people exist. Do be careful going into the comments. Anyway, that was just a very quick disclaimer, and just pretty much saying I acknowledge everyone that has written those comments. And again, thank you guys so much for commenting and being that excited about the show. If a show has that much excitement behind it, it usually means something pretty awesome is going to come. So I'm very excited. Anyway, so let's start talking about the episode itself. Again, the episode, very pretty. Production values on point. Art works well, even if they're doing any of the budget saving techniques that they might do in general animation. It still looks really well, since the art for the characters can be pretty simplistic, so they can afford to cut corners here and there, and ultimately it's still a very pretty show. Now, this episode kind of continues exposition on the world. It's just it doesn't feel like exposition. It all feels very valuable, but at the end of the day, it's still exposition. It's still world building. It's just, in this case, it's more engaging world building, which is pretty great. But talking about the episode in specifics, I guess now getting into the specific meat, I really enjoyed how we started with the compass. Rico prefaces what the compass does. It points to its needle points. Its needle has a weird thing. It points up to the sky, but it also points directly down into the center of the abyss. So that was a pretty cool little thing that we had there. I like that kind of play with it. But I think what I really enjoyed with that scene is that this is the episode we get to see the opening for the first time. And in the opening, we do see that the compass has some prevalence within the opening. So I liked how they quickly introduced that, and then we have it kind of segueing into the opening. So that was just really good direction when it comes to scene building. I really enjoyed that. And then once we get into the episode, what we're pretty much covering is how we get Reg on the up and up, how we get him into the school, how we get him into a place where they can have him out in public. Now, the really interesting thing right before that is that we had Rico explaining the things that she had done to Reg, and that was very competent. I was actually kind of surprised. It was very amusing, but it was also very competent. So again, Rico is a competent character, and given the society that we have here for these characters, kids that are going down into a very dangerous place, as we find out later on, it makes sense that Rico would be that competent. It makes sense that she would know how to poke and prod in the right ways. It makes sense that she would approach it with such, I guess, a scientific mindset in the terms of checking everything bit by bit. I really enjoy that little perspective. Again, it's really amusing, but it does set Rico up as what kind of character she is. She's very analytical. She's very, I guess, procedure based. So that was pretty good on her part. Of course, throughout the sequence, we also get little reactions, and that just goes a long way to making the episode more enjoyable, with Reg kind of just being relatively freaked out about the things that Rico was doing to him. And as we continue the episode, we start seeing a few more things. You know, we go through the sequence very quickly with Reg being a part of the school. Then we have a sequence and we see one of the mentioned scenes that we heard about in the last episode. We see Rico get strung up and naked. That's like one of those dark undercurrents. Like, yeah, like they just did that. And then they immediately jump to a scene of the guys looking at torture tools. It's like, yeah, this is disturbing. Like, there are little things that are disturbing in this society. And it really all comes to a head when we see the Resurrection Festival. Now, that's a very important piece for the plot and also for the world that we're seeing here. Because at this point, you know, I thought when the whistle came up and they were saying that this belonged to the Annihilator. Jesus, I forgot her name already. Well, you know, Rico's mom. I'm just thinking, okay, yeah, that's probably Rico's mom. And, you know, sure enough, that's exactly where the narrative was going. But I thought people were going to be sadder. But then we see that the people are joyous. They are pretty happy that their whistle has returned. Like, I guess the diver has effectively finished her journey. And so it was very interesting to see that mindset of these people just going into pretty much a giant wake and just celebrating that the diver pretty much came back, that the explorer has effectively returned to her home. It's very interesting. And that perspective, how they quickly turned it into such a commercial thing. Hey, go buy your white whistles. And like how they have the orphan kids working and doing a little skit about the great Annihilator and how awesome and badass she was. That was just all very interesting for the world itself. And what really sold me on how well adjusted this world is to the Abyss, right? Like, at this point, their whole life is based around the Abyss. What really sold me on how adjusted they are was when the guys that came up, was it Hobo or Hoppo? Well, we know who it is. It's the Black Whistle. When they came up, they actually told Rico, hey, you know, we can give you this whistle. And that was really interesting because there you have something that people would think is of relatively big importance. I mean, people are making knockoffs of it. And then here they are just saying like, hey, we can give you this. And it's just, you know, that's actually just really well adjusted. That's actually really reasonable. That's actually really nice. And then you go further and it's like, you can look at the documents your mom left behind. It's like, what? These people are being really reasonable. You would have thought that people in authority would just be like, no, man, you can't touch this stuff. This is our stuff now. There's no like, they're just really well adjusted with this whole process of the Abyss. And when you have these moments like this, where you see this government body and you see that they're like kind of promoting something kind of disturbing in the commercialism aspect, and you see like the nice little things that they do, it kind of makes this feel better because it's not just an over exaggeration of, say, a bad system. It's just like, this is probably really reasonable. The bureaucracy and just like the general rules that they have established here, it's like give and take. Like they do some things that seem kind of disturbing with what the celebration and commercialization of a lady dying maybe. But then you have this on the flip side where they're being actually like people. This is actually really nice. And the reason this is a big thing is just because most times in fiction you have the organization set up as a thing where like they make the excuse the rules are the rules, but in this case the rules are actually people friendly. They're friendly towards the people who are going in there to sacrifice their lives pretty much. So in terms of world building, that was excellent. I really enjoyed that. Moving into Rico though, we also get a good amount of exposition with Rico and her origins, and I really enjoyed that as well. I think this episode is so good just because it gives us worthwhile information, and we find out first off about the Abyss curse, the sickness that you come up with. And at first, when they're first describing it, you know, like nausea, then vomiting, I'm just thinking, this sounds like the bends. It sounds like just the bends. And naturally, as we go deeper into the layers, like, you know, you turn into a monster at the end, and it's like, okay. It's like the idea of the bends and then just extrapolated towards magic. And it's like, okay, I can appreciate that. And seeing how they tied that back in to Rico's, I guess, reveal about her eyes, that she also suffered from abyss sickness, and finding out the story of how her mom chose her and brought her back up and left behind the bell, to which we let her find out she got really pissed pretty much and went back and screwed over the country that screwed her over and took the bell. You know, that was pretty awesome. I really enjoyed that. And I liked how Rico immediately jumped on and said, oh, am I strong against the abyss? Like, no. You're pathetic. You're a lucky case. So overall, I really enjoyed that. That was actually really smart and really well executed. And the sequence of events that led us into that scene, very well executed. Really enjoyed it. Now let's see, other things within that sequence or within the episode that really stand out. Well, actually, no, not really. Those are the really big moments, and then actually the moment of Rico's mom and seeing the flashback, and now the possibility that she might be alive at the bottom layer of the abyss, and the things that she's seeing, and the netherworld, all that. All those are really cool concepts, but they're just concepts that are being thrown at us, so it's not as engaging as the previous two things. We also found out the hierarchy of the whistles, and we find out that the leader of the orphanage, I think, is third in that ranking, because then it's the purple guys, then the black, then the white. So overall, it was all, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed seeing that hierarchy. I really enjoyed the world building. In the next episode, we're going back to the abyss, so I'm pretty excited. I'm seeing estimates that people are assuming 4 to 5 episodes is how long it'll take before we see something messed up. So I'm pretty excited, but hopefully it'll come back. It'll come by faster, just to, like, freak people out or throw people off. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much it for me. This episode, I really enjoyed the world building. Not many episodes can pull off world building and exposition and still make it very engaging. I was really sad when the episode ended. So overall, I think this was a really well executed episode. But you guys, let me know what you thought down below. Let me know what you're thinking about this series so far if you haven't read the manga. And let me know, for manga readers, if you guys are generally excited about where we're going. And let me see, any other things that I need to say in the afterward. I don't know, if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. It helps the channel. Is there anything else? Oh yeah, you know, I said this in one of the comments and I'll say it here, but I'm sure if something bad does happen, I'll at least appreciate how pretty it will look. Unless they do a total art shift, in which case then I'll appreciate the artistry. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much it. Let's cut it there. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I hope you guys have a great day.